Hello, my name's Stacey Ewing, and I want to talk about consciousness, why it's powerful, what it is, where it comes from, how it works for us, with us, how it's part of our whole existence. So, I have a few medical conditions, quite a lot of medical conditions that are overlapping that cause me neurological shutdowns. I basically, my body struggles to work and get blood back to my brain, and then I lose loss of speech and I can't speak or move my limbs, and I basically become a bit of a dead fish that can't flop around. So yeah, I'm basically at that time I can't open my eyes. I lose motor loss and all functions at that time, but my consciousness is still there, and that's what amazes me. So I can hear everything around me. I can sense, I know where my children are, where the paramedics are. I can even feel and sense what's happening. When they're whispering, my senses are even higher than they are when I'm using my motor functions, because all of that noise has been removed. All of the noise of the stimulation of having to work to see, of our body having to focus on all these different things. And when you're in that state of a neurological shutdown where my brain has basically shut off my motor functions, all I have is my consciousness and my total awareness. So it's a deep form of meditation, but my body is basically, because I have these counteracting conditions that fight one another, has switched off all my motor function and then left me just with my consciousness. So my level of perception is a completely different level. So this has me questioning what consciousness is, because the blood's not going to my brain, and two of my counteractive conditions affect my vascular system and how it pumps the blood back up to my brain. And everything in the body needs blood in order to sustain your organs, your nerves, your motor functions. The blood vessels go to every single part of your body, the digestion of your gut, the plasma that's made in your mouth to create your saliva, to keep your eyes lubricated. The blood is essential for every single mechanism in our body, same as every other aspect, like the fascia, the water, everything's intertwined, right? There's not one part of us in existence in life that's not important. But when it comes to consciousness and my level to be aware, and some paramedics that have, well, a lot of paramedics have not experienced other patients like that before, and seem to be quite alarmed and shocked or intrigued when I come around and I was aware of everything that happened while I was out of it for an hour and couldn't move. But I knew that my daughter was there taking the alarm and pressing it on my finger because I could feel it. Then I know her touch and I know it's her. So even though, and I could remember what room they were in and what they were discussing and where they were going during this hour while I couldn't move or open my mouth or speak. So how is this? How is this possible? What does this tell me? This tells me that consciousness doesn't need doesn't need blood, because consciousness comes from a different energy source. It comes from our being. It comes from light that we contain within. And it runs on a lower level of energy. The reason that my body switches off all of my motor functions is to save the energy and resources for my heart and my major organs, because it's struggling to function because I have autonomic dysfunction and other different conditions. And so to save me, my body switches off my motor functions, basically, to stop having to waste any unnecessary energy, just like a computer system on a reboot sort of thing. So when it switches off these parts of me, that tells me that those parts of me are draining a lot of my energy, but consciousness is still there. So where does that energy source come from? And how is that able to operate and do all of these things on such a low amount of energy? because consciousness is light. It's made from light, from photons that we contain within our body, all around us. And it's not just part of us, the consciousness is part of the air around us, and it's a part of each and every one of us, and it's what connects us. And it's liquid. It's not like the material realm where it's structured and rigid. It's fluid and it's transforming, and it molds and it curves like water, and it's able to grow and change. And it's not what you see, it's way more than that. Because why? Because it's photons, it's light. And what are photons? They are atoms. To the core of its existence, they are atoms. Atom in the ancient scriptures, the one, the God, the everything that we're connected to is within our consciousness. And within our body and our structure, this consciousness is what controls every single aspect around us, around our orb, our energy, and what we perceive. And to imagine that that is an infinite possibility of light, an infinite possibility of energy, and it's able to operate on such a lower scale. There's less wastage. It's recycled energy, so it's able to keep creating. In ancient scriptures, we call it the Ring of Taurus. The Ring of Taurus we see in our meditation, like the circle we see it in life of the earth, of life, the cycle of life, the orb. The Ring of Taurus is a light that's never ending of energy. It's a light that surrounds our soul. When we walk around, we all have this orb. And depending on what we're consuming and what we're vibrating, to the level of the ions that we're going to contain within inside us and the photons of light that we're able to attract and keep within our skin, is going to depend on how much we reflect and how much we magnetize that orb around us. But then we have also in ancient scriptures the Ring of Infinity, the number 8 in astrology, the 8th house, the number of transformation, the number of reincarnation, the number of never-ending energy. And when we look at the material realm and the world around us, and we see the machines and how they create energy, is through friction. How we create energy when we run, when we move, when we interact, when we respond with one another. How we increase that level of emotional expression, maybe through anger, maybe through interaction, maybe through holding. There's always friction, because friction creates a spark of energy, whether it is seen or is it not seen. So then we think of the number 8, the number of infinity, and the Ring of Taurus. It then goes into the number 8 as the energy goes around into a ring, and it crosses over in the middle and creates that friction between the two lines. Is a self-sustaining, never-ending energy. And that energy is what we all contain within us. And that energy is the energy of the light force itself. That everything, you imagine the center of that overlap of that number 8. In astrology, ancient astrology, we call the 8th house and the 2nd house the house of idle places. And in meditation, Saja Yoga, we call characteristics that are related to the 8th house the void. And that is the same place of meditation, the nothingness, where everything disappears. And that is that point of that number 8, that number 8 of infinity, where we seem to see the friction, but it's the void, the emptiness, and where everything goes into itself to create and go back around and make everything else. Like a black hole in the universe, we are all recycling